with the next part of our app. Let's talk about error management a little bit. So again, there's stuff that breaks the things from working. Part of them is what we call syntax errors, right? So we forgot a semicolon. That's a syntax error, right? Yeah?
Well, I was just going to say, I missed the exit part.
Jesus, man, look it up on the video. No, it's this dot exit. This dot exit with two parentheses and a semicolon.
Say close.
Right? Oh, sorry. This dot close. See, look at it. I'm thinking VB. This dot close. Like, see how smart? Look at that. You're paying attention. Someone's paying goddamn attention, right? All right. C#, lots of rules, right? And again, we want to try. There's a squiggly line that comes in when it shows there's a syntax error or some kind of other error. If you're missing something like a property or method, it's going to complain. It's going to give you that squiggly error, which is part of Microsoft's code hinting or IntelliSense, right? So that's a syntax error. Then there's runtime errors. So there's no syntax problem, but it doesn't do what you want to do because there's some kind of problem that happens that Microsoft hasn't caught. Still an error that you can fix, right? But it's a runtime error, different kind of error. Then there's a logic error, right? Everything runs, the project runs, you know, there's no syntax problems, but the rules for business, your business rules for the reason why you're creating this application, you missed something, and it's not doing what you want it to do. That's a logic error, right? There's also some other things. There's some, there's different kinds of errors, and I know you've probably learned about them in other courses as well. For example, there's a systemic error, right? You're typing along, and you've typed 50 lines of code, which is a bad thing to do, and you know, you haven't saved, and you've typed, and you cannot figure out where the bloody error is. It's telling you, Microsoft is telling you, IntelliSense is saying line number 135, and 135 looks fine. How come, right? Because it might be line 136. It could be line 134. It could be the code block. You don't know where it is, right? So these are the kind of things you can try and avoid by saving often, testing each component as you go, right? As opposed to writing a whole slew of code and then going back and going, oh, damn, where's that error, right? You don't want that to happen. So a bit about errors. Naming rules. We talked about this already. Message label, exit button. Here's another one, data entry form. If you notice, what I'm using is Pascal casing, also known as upper camel case, right? Which means the first letter as well as any other letter denoting the type of control. For example, message would be my own custom part of the variable or object. Label is a type of control. So message label, both are capitalized. In other languages, and you don't have to use this case, by the way, other languages use a lowercase for classes, right, for the beginning, and then an uppercase for the second part. For example, that's a different kind of camel case. That's regular camel case. This is upper camel case, right? So you have a lowercase m and then a capital L, right? I'm asking you for this course to do upper camel case like this, okay? As our convention for knowing that everything's been named properly. It's verbose, if you notice. It's lots, like, you know, pretty huge. The variable names are really big. But it does help you with things like if you're creating a decimal, if you're doing calculations, right? And you say, as an example, I don't know, calc decimal. You know, it's a decimal. You know, it's not going to screw you up. You're not going to have problems with casting as much. You can see it in your variable that it's not a float, right? It's not a string, right? You're not going to try and add a string to a decimal and have a problem with your code, right? It helps you with those kind of things, and it describes your variables a little better. Okay. And here's some recommendations which you can read on your own for different buttons. Example button, the exit button, label, total label, and so on. Okay, let's do this thing now. Modifying your project in 18 steps, right? Which is kind of like what we want to do for the last part of this of today. We have about 20 minutes left, and for the next 20 minutes, we're going to do these steps. And I'm going to let you do it, right? I'm going to go through it. I already have examples of this. And as I go, you can follow me along, or you can go through this presentation on your own and zip through it. And when you're done, we're going to say goodbye and see you next week, right?
So we're ending this?
No, this is for your practice. This is what I'm telling you. I know you say, hey, Tom, why don't you give us a bonus mark for this work that you're doing? Man, the amount of marking that I'd have to do if we did it every day, it'd be 14 extra little assignment's worth 1%, let's say, or 0.5% for all of you, and then someone's going to complain and say, holy cow, man, I wasn't there that day, my car broke down. Can you give me the marks anyway? I've done it before, by the way. Okay, so let's just do it like this. Mark less, but lots of practice. Okay, here we go. So the message label, we've already done that. I want to change the font of the message label to another font. And how do I do that? Well, here's my message label. I got to actually go here, and I can't see my message label here, right? So here's my message label, right? I want to find my message label, so here I go, right? I've activated it, and I want to go to where it says font. And here, if I actually click on the font itself, it gives me these little ellipses, and if I click on it, it's going to bring up my font dialog box, and I want to change it to 12. Okay? And I've changed my font property to 12. Okay? If I run it now, and if I click push me, it's really big. Okay? That's the first thing I want to do. All right. So that's step 1. Well, actually, step 1, 2, 3. I'm really going quickly. Step 4. I've already done that part too. I also want to align my label. If I want to use my text align property to align my label so that it's middle center. Now, what does this mean, middle center? Let's go back. So if I actually click on my label, it's already clicked. And if I go to my align, text align property, here it is. Right now, my text align property is top left, which means wherever my label is, the text inside the label is going to appear to the top and to the left of that space that the label has. Okay, so here I go. I want to change this to middle center. This is middle center of my label. And again, if I test this out, it looks very similar to me because I haven't really specified where the label is going to be and how big it is. Right? I can specify a size for my label, if I will, and a different way of producing my label, different borders and so on. And then this will make sense. All right. Step 6. I'm going to add another label, and I'm going to change it so that it says by your name. My name is Tom. So I'm going to put it underneath the exit button. Okay, so let's just do that. So I take my label and drag and drop it underneath this exit button right here, right? And I'm going to change the text that says by Tom, my long last name, Tsiopoulos. For those of you who can try to pronounce it, good luck. All right, and if you notice, I haven't changed my label from anything other than label whatever it came up with, the standard label name. Now, you might say, why? Why don't you change this label to something else other than label 1? Well, if you're not going to use it in the code, you know, there's an argument that I may not need to, right? Because if I don't care about accessing it in the code, then who cares, right? If this is a style choice, if you will. Okay, if you don't care for this particular label, if it's not going to be used, if it's only something that you're going to label, you know, throw something on the screen itself, it's up to you. I like to label everything though, because I want to know what each label means. I don't want it to be called label 1, label 2, label 3. It doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe I'll call this author label, because that's just the kind of guy that I am. So this is my author label, and then I know which one it is, because I might have more than one. Author label, my exit button, my hello form, my message label. I can actually access them a little better this way. Okay. Doesn't say that in your PowerPoint, but what the hell. The push me button, all right? Instead of the push me, I want to change the text to English, right? And I want to kind of push it aside here to make room for another Spanish button. So let's do that. So I move it aside first. If you notice this little, it kind of snaps to, and giving it a little space between the edge of my form and my button control. Okay, and I'm going to change the push me button where it says push me. I got to do a couple things here. Okay, this one I'm going to change from push me. I'm going to say English. Right. Now there's a problem, right? Because if I change, what happens? I want to ask you this question: what happens if I change the push button element here? I want to change this to English button. What happens in the code? Yeah.
It does not correct, so I'm assuming that it just breaks because there's no Well, it doesn't.
Or does it?
It doesn't break, but it won't execute.
Well, yeah, well, it's still-
I love this
before
communication. This is good. This is good.
Because what it, all it is because
She has-
missing the name,
You
right?
guys should have your own vlog, right?
Well, yeah, it's missing the name. So, like, it just means there's no code associated with English button.
Guys, I can't show this video, but they are talking. All right, let me say this. But you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
so
If you notice, the push button click didn't change, right? So how do I fix that?
Change it manually.
I could change it manually, or if I'm really lazy, if I'm a lazy bastard, right? I can just double click on this again, right? And it creates a hello. It creates another one. If you notice, it goes right down in here because it looks. A couple things happen here, right? If you notice, my push button click doesn't change, right? Because on the design side, the design form looks and sees the push button click as the thing that's changing my my control. So if I run it, let me save everything, and run this. Let's see how it breaks. Right, here it is. If I click English, oh, it worked. How come? Because on my design side, on the back end, it associates those two things. Right? The right thing to do, though, like you said, right, would be to name it appropriately. So you should change this to English button. Right? And if we did that, let's see if this would screw things up.
It
Right.
does, but I already corrected it.
Oh. Let's see if it screws. Oh, there's build errors, right? And would you like to continue?
There's the file that actually associates the two
Right.
is linked, so you have to go and change the name of that association file.
And that's what I'm saying. So the right thing to do is kill this thing, like get rid of it, kill the button, and redo it. Or you can go to the association file that you're talking about, which is where?
For one, well, whatever the name that .designer.cs.
That's right, which is right here. And this is where it does the association right here. Right. So if you notice, button says Windows Forms English button is here. That's where it actually tells me where it is, right? And it doesn't show me the association. Where is it? Come on.
When I changed it, it gave me the
Don't
error. I
understand.
The error and, I don't know why, because that's different from the designer.cs that I see.
It is, because I've already changed it here, that's why. So I got to change this back just for now to push button. If I was to change this down back to push button click, .click. I'm just mentioning this to you so you understand. It runs nicely, right? No problem. And let's leave it the way it is for now. Okay? Yes, you could change it. It's going to be different on everyone's machine, and it's going to be different depending on the steps they took. Right? The safe thing to do is erase it if you want it to be named properly, and redo it. Copy it into a text in a text file, and put and so you don't have to type all the code again. Why? Right? Just take it and copy it back in. Right? Otherwise, you're going to fool with the associations. This way, you delete it so it doesn't exist. It takes away the association, and you put it back, and you don't have to trace it in 3 different files. Okay, I want to add another button really quickly. So here's my other button. I want to make this Spanish. Okay, so this one I'm going to name properly because I got a chance to do this because I've just added it in. So here's Spanish button. And I want to make sure that the text for the button is also Spanish. It says Spanish. I could make it Espanol or whatever, but I'm going to be lazy and put it in English. Right? Here it is. Confuse the bastards. And then double click on Spanish button on underscore click and put in this button displays hello world in English. Spanish. Thank you. When pressed, click. I know, isn't that awesome? And then I put in the message label again. Here's my message, if I spell properly, message label dot text, right, is equal to, I think it's hola mundo or something like that. Mundo. Yay. Semicolon. So now I've got 2 different buttons to do the same thing, but just one in English and one in Spanish. So here it is, hola mundo, English, hello world. Exit the program. Yay or nay? Let's go to step 10. We've done that. Let's go to step 12. We've programmed that. It's 13. Oh yeah, we want another one called print. Who prints these days anyway? Right? This is where IntelliSense comes really into it. Watch this part, guys, if you haven't seen it already. Because you're going to say, hey, why he's using Visual Basic Power Packs? Because Visual Basic Power Packs it also works in C#, right? It's just another set of libraries, right? That's all it is. They're just called Visual Basic Power Packs. So if I go back, And if I go to my form designer, right, as an example, the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Visual Basic Power Packs first before you do the other button. You could do it if you want, doesn't matter. But I actually want to drag in or double click on this print form. Okay, it actually puts the component outside of the form itself. It's a library of functions that actually is attached to the form, or to this particular form only. If I had another form, it wouldn't be attached to that form, just this form, just this class. Okay, set of classes that's included called print form 1. You can rename it if you like. It's okay, or you can leave it the same way. It's up to you. Now I'm going to drag and drop a button, another button control. Here we go. I'll put it down here just to make it uglier. And if I double click, man, I've got this button 1 click. Now what am I going to do? Well, I can delete it. And if I do that, I should probably delete my button too, because I'm going to get this. That's bad when that happens, right? I could also, if I'm smart, undo, right? And do it this way. Undo my button, right? Actually delete my control properly. And then when I go back into this thing, I can do this with impunity, right? Because I don't have a button anymore. If I did it the other way around, I killed the button in my code before I killed my button on my form, it'll give us that error again, and then we're going to run into this whole problem and have to restart this whole thing again. I don't want to do that, right? So please don't do that. So let's do that again, except this time name the button proper. So here's my button, and I'm going to rename it with the button down here. I'm going to say print. Why would we want to print in this day and age? Who knows? But you might have a customer who needs to print something, right? So that's why we're showing you how to do this. Print button. Oops, spell it properly, Tom. Tom. Okay, so here it is. If I double click on this now, we're good. Print button, it looks the same, good in the code, good on the design side. This button produces a print preview. I want to do that. How do I do that? What am I doing, first of all? Right? Let me go back to the hello form. If I can actually click this print form, it actually does a couple things, right? My print action is the thing that actually decides what I print. Right now, it goes print to printer. I can change it physically here, so I can just put print to preview, right? Which is okay too, right? Or I can do it programmatically. Okay, so programmatically for me to do that is I got to go here, and I got to go with this. I got to say print form 1 dot print action, because I'm actually changing the print action of my form itself, is equal to, and this is where IntelliSense goes nuts, and we should watch what it says. See this? You'd never guess what you'd have to put on the other side, all right? IntelliSense writes the code for you, or you can look it up. Good luck looking it up. So I push it in, right, dot, and I say print to preview. Here it is, semicolon, colon, right? You like that thing?
Very fancy.
Thank you. And now what you do is, of course, you say print form dot print as an action, right? And of course, you've got it. It's a method, so we're going to print it out like that. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. Let's try that out. Make sure it all works. And here's our print. We're going to print it over here. Print. Oh, the print preview comes up. And then from here, we can actually print using the printer, right? So that's your little piece of modified code in a nutshell. The lessons for all that stuff, let me just skip forward a little bit. It's all up there. I've also given you a hands-on programming assignment that you for practice that I recommend that you do. Okay, and what it is creating this complex form. You know, it's a little bit more complex than what we've had before. I recommend that you do this for homework. You don't have any reading to do because we don't have reading in this course other than watching my videos that are going to be 400 megs, right? And you know, taking a look at the presentations. So I recommend that you do these. Sometimes you'll have a chance to do them in class, but if I'm, again, I digressed a little bit. We did a little bit of GitHub today, which prevented us from doing this in class. But I recommend you practice this every time. Questions before we part? Okay, guys, see you next week, and I'll try and put those crazy videos up online for you as soon as I can.